Hey everybody. So right now we're going to do Math 8 MCAP practice test. So I'm just going to type MCAP practice and then comes right up on Google practice test. So we're taking English, math, me says science, social studies. It's back. There's been some years where they didn't have all the tests. They're all back. Lots of tests now. So we're going to do grade 8 right now. I like to click on the paper base because then it's just a PDF, a nice 44-page PDF. Isn't that the best? So what is most helpful and effective is if you have tried all the problems before you see me do it. So if you haven't done that, pause the video, go back, do every problem before you watch me. And then after you watch me, if there's anything you don't understand, make sure you ask about it. Okay? Which expression is equivalent to 8 to the negative 4 times 8 to the third? Okay, so this is rules of exponents question. So in each of these questions, write down everything I write down. And each of these questions is a chance for us to review a topic, not just get an answer. If you just go through these questions and say, oh, the answer is C, all right, move on, then you didn't learn anything. You wasted your time. All right, so listen up. It's a rules of exponents question. It could be like this. It could have been like this. That would have been a fair question. It could have been like this. There are 3 rules of exponents. And then the negative exponents is another rule, so like 4. All right. You need to know all 4. So let me write them down. The first one is when we are multiplying terms, we add the exponents. So 2 plus 3 is 5. The second one is when we are taking a term and raising it to a power, then we multiply the exponents. 2 times 3, 6. All right. Also, we can divide. If we divide the terms, we're subtracting the exponents. 3 minus 2 is 1. And then we have the negative exponent rule. So x to the negative 3 is equal to 1 over x to the positive 3. So the reciprocal is positive. So that's all the rules. So this one, we are going to use the first rule right here. They're being multiplied. So what do we do with the exponents? Look at the 2, 3, and 5. We add the exponents. And don't be pulling out a calculator to add negative 4 plus 3. You got to know that. You got to know your rules of integers. If one integer is negative and one is positive, you subtract the numbers. So it is 4 minus 3. 4 minus 3 is 1. And you use the bigger number sign. So the answer is negative 1 in this case. Now, 8 to the negative first is correct, but I don't see it in these choices. So now we need to use that last rule of exponents. If we have a negative exponent, we can write it as 1 over the positive exponent. So 8 to the negative first is 1 over 8 to the positive first, which is just 1 over 8. An exponent of 1 does not have to be written. And the answer is C. All right. So there you go. That's one topic that you'll see on the MCAP is the rules of exponents. Here's another one. Function definition. How many people remember the function definition? So the function definition, func def. Every input has only one output. If It's like we have the X, we have the Y, right? And so each X can only pair up with one Y. So what we do is look for repeating X's. So I'm looking at the X's, I see 1, 2, 3. So which sets of ordered pairs represent functions? A represents a function because there's no repeating X value for non-functions. All right, so 2, 2. You guys see that? There's 2, 1, and 2, 3. No, B is not a function. Circle the 2's. 3, 4, 5. C works. 6, 6. Oh no. 6, 6, 6. Get out of here. All right, 7, 8, 9. That works. Now I do notice the repeating Y values, but that's okay. The 8 can go to 3 and 9 can go to 3, but we just can't see 8 going to 3 and 8 going to somewhere else. That's okay. So E is a function. All right, so make sure and then the nice thing is you can go to Khan Academy or IXL and you can find these topics for more practice too. So let each question here be a launching point to something you need to practice or something you got. Okay, so X squared. So we did the Pythagorean theorem. We did, just the square roots and the cube roots. And so how do we solve this? Well, don't divide by 2. So write this question down and write don't divide by 2 for X squared. All right, something a lot of people do. But instead, square root. Because that's the inverse operation of squaring. We see X squared, so we want to square root. Okay, so then how do we square root 49 over 16? We square root 49 and we square root 16. And the square root of 49 is 7. The square root of 16 is 4. Now, when we square root both sides, it's something that you need to know is that 7/4 squared and -7/4 squared both would equal 49 over 16. So we put this sign in front, a plus or minus sign. But test taking strategy tip here. You didn't need to know that necessarily. Your 8th grade math teacher may not have taught you that. But look, they all have it. So don't worry. I've told you that now. But if you don't know something when you're taking the test, we can still see the answer 7/4. All right. So that is solving equations involving square roots. The parallel lines. Okay, so in parallel lines, we have congruent angles and we have supplementary angles that add to 180. So parallel lines, in case you've never seen this or feel like you've never seen this, cut by a transversal. That is what that's called. Parallel lines cut by a transversal. So if you want to look that up, you can. And so the nice thing about this is as long as it's drawn actually parallel, you can see which angles are the same and which angles are different. I hope you can see that one is obtuse. I'm just going to write OB for obtuse. No, I'm going to write it out. So someone doesn't say, what does that OB stand for? And then the 2 is acute. And you should be able to see that 1 is bigger than 2. And then over here, 5 is obtuse, and 6 is acute. So going around the figure, we can see that angles match up with one or the other. So just get the color. All these guys are congruent to each other. They're all the obtuse angles. And all these guys are congruent to each other. They're all the acute angles. So they have different angle pair names. So I'm just going to write them out. I'm going to give you one example of each. So 1 and 5 are an example of corresponding angle pairs. But there are others, 3 and 7, 4 and 8. There's actually 4 corresponding angle pairs, and they are congruent or the same. Then we also have 2 and 7. You see, those are both green. Those are called alternate interior angles, and they are congruent. 3 and 6, just gonna write angle 3, angle 6 are alternate exterior angles, and they are congruent. Okay, so those are the congruent angle pairs: alternate interior, alternate exterior, corresponding. This is more than you need to answer this question, right? But that's only because I'm going over the concept using the question. I keep saying over and over. Now there are 2 other angle pairs, the 2 and the 5. I'm just going to write like this. 2, angle 5. Those are called same side interior, and they're not the same. Look, angle 2 is green, angle 5 is red. They're called supplementary, or they add to 180. And then there's also same side exterior, also on the same side. So like 1 and 6 is an example. And they're also supplementary. Okay, we have time for one more before morning math. Let's do one more. So, but let me just. All right, so which angles are congruent to 1? The answer is, I can do one more question here. Angle 5 and angle 8 and angle 4. Yeah. All right, so and angle 8. There it is. All right. Last one. Okay. So which fraction best estimates? Okay, so there's probably a number of different ways to do this problem, but the way that I like to do is I like to think of my perfect squares. I have them written on the board. All right, so we got 1, 4, 9, 16, 25, 36, 49, 64, 81, 100, 121, 144. Okay, those are the square roots are 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see I'm just counting here. All right, so 65 is not in the list, but it's really close to 8. So we could say it's 1 more than 8, so it's about 8. And 122 is not in the list, but it's really close to 11. Done. All right, so that's the first 5. I'll make another video, and we're going to get through all 44 pages. But again, if you didn't try the problems before, make sure you try them, and then you can watch the next video.